Hello people of the internet. Well, today we are revisiting the Ohuhu Pupe colour markers that I reviewed last weekend because a number of people posted some questions or queries or just general observations, and I wanted to address them all in one video. So let me just start with the very first one, which was, I think it was Zoe who said, I don't believe any pens will be paper friendly on standard printer paper. And I should have been clear probably when I did my test, this isn't standard printer paper. This is standard printer paper, and this is 120 GSM mixed media paper. So there is, I didn't use standard printer paper. I wouldn't really expect any printer paper, you know, generic standard printer paper to stand up to water-based markers. So I should have probably said that. I wasn't just doing it on standard printer paper. I use this paper for my swatches. It is the thickest, it is the thinnest mixed media paper that I can get that will go through my printer. The second thing is I am going to do the test, the layering test, on this 80 GSM paper, and let's just write on here what it is so we all know. This is 80 GSM printer paper. Okay, and then we see that's just one of the old. And I'm using these pens here today, the blue ones. They're all out, they're all ready, so we can just get through this nice and quick. So, layer 1. And I'm doing it wet still. I shall come back to that comment. Layer 2. Layer 3. It's breaking up. Layer 4. I'm calling it 4. 4. The newer Ohuhu ones, these ones. 1, 2, ooh, breaking up. 3, 4. Same as the other one, 4. And bear in mind, this is 80 GSM paper. And then we have the art markers, which are these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just break it up with 4. So break it up, you can see it. Breaking up pieces of paper. Then we've got the journal pens. 1, 2, 3. Calling it 4 again. So you can see that these all break up pretty much with 4 layers on the standard printer paper. I think when we was doing it on this paper, we had the paper was a lot more, you can see the paper was a lot more tolerant. I would not have expected this 80 GSM paper to take anything. Anyway, we'll carry on. These are the flamingo pens. 1, 2, oh, that's going already. 3, and it has got a sharper point, so that's probably why. But we'll go, yeah, 4 and it's gone. To be honest, I'd probably call that one 3. We'll give that one 3. I'm going to see what the flamingo pens did on there. They did 6 on the other one, so they did 3. So the first paper-friendly iteration that we showed last week is this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Starting to break up. Hasn't gone quite as bad yet, but I'm calling that 6 because you can see it is breaking up now. 6. So slightly better than the other one on standard printer paper. And then this one, which is the Pupe one. Pupe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a little bit coming away there. 6, probably 6 to be honest. Well, 7 maybe. At a push, 7 maybe. 7. Okay, so a little bit better. So the 2 paper friendly ones do layer a little bit better. This is on very thin printer paper. Okay, and you can see how they bled through, and obviously These have all got 4 layers and these have got 6-ish layers. Okay, so that's address number 1. This wasn't standard printer paper. Okay, so the next query, question, whatever, was both Dita and Joanna said you shouldn't be doing the layers when it's wet. You should let the layers dry between layers. So that is what I'm working on here. Now, you can see there's different papers and we'll come to that in a minute. I'm doing 10 layers of each of the 7 pens on different papers, and I'm letting them dry between layers. So we're letting, on this test, so you know, we're letting them dry between layers. And what this test is, this is Winsor & Newton 220 GSM drawing paper. This is Faber-Castell 220 GSM mixed media paper. And this is 190 GSM watercolour paper. The reason why I'm doing them on different papers is because Zoe said, why did I only test them on one type of paper? The reason why I only tested them on one type of paper is that I'm not here to do a full scientific sort of review on every type of paper. I buy pens to use in colouring books because that's what I do. I'm not an artist. I'm not drawing. I'm not using drawing paper or mixed media paper or watercolour paper. I'm using them in colouring books. And I know that, like me, other people who use colouring books will see them on Amazon and go, oh, paper friendly, does that mean I can use them without them going through to the other side? Which is why I tested them in a colouring book. But for completeness, I'm going to do the full scientific experiment. We're about 4 hours in now to doing all of this, which, you know, for a £30 set of pen, that's a good hourly rate that Ohuhu are paying me. But yes, I will give you the results and show you why I didn't use these pieces of paper previously as well. All right, so we need to come back to this because I'm only at layer 5, and because I have to wait for them to dry in between, I've probably got another hour before we can come back to that. So that was that question, why I only showed it on one type of paper. Okay, so there's another one which was all about journals commented saying, I don't care how they market them, I don't know of any water-based marker that won't break down paper. Well, if we look at this, when we did all the layers on these, we can see that actually the first 1, 2, 3 pens didn't do too bad considering on this 120 GSM paper. So yeah, water-based markers will break down paper, but they didn't do too bad, did they, the old ones? Christine says maybe they're better for folk who can't tolerate alcohol markers, and I agree. I have just been doing this picture, which is half and half. Half water-based marker and half alcohol marker, and I did all this side first of all, and then I got the alcohol markers out to do that, and I forgot how strong they smell. So yeah, you could be right. It could be the case that for people who don't like the smell of alcohol markers, that they're a good choice. I mean, they both come through the paper. I mean, alcohol markers clearly worse, but then the alcohol markers look smoother when they go down. So, and this was all different ones of the Ohuhu markers, so not just all the paper friendly ones. So, and this side feels rough and wobbly because it's had water soaked into it. So yes, Christine, I agree, possibly the smell is a factor. Okay, and the next comment was from Kelly, and Kelly said that the problem that a lot of people have with water-based markers is that they try to use them the same as you might use alcohol markers, like you are doing. Water-based markers are a completely different type of pen. You need to use them on watercolour paper and blend them out with a brush and water. To which I said, no, they don't have to be used on watercolour paper. Pens made of water-based ink have been around for years and they can be used with a brush and water, but it's not the only way to use them. Kelly went on to say as well, my reason for suggesting that particular method is because your video and many others I've seen on YouTube was outlining the difficulties of layering and blending the colours on regular paper. Well, as I said before, it wasn't regular paper, and I wasn't outlining the difficulties of laying and blending the colours on regular paper. I was showing how many layers each pen could do, because the USP of the Pupe paper friendly pens is that they are paper friendly and can do up to 20 layers. So consequently, I was showing how many layers they could do. I wasn't outlining the difficulties, I was showing how many layers they could do and how they pull up the paper and bleed through. Well, yes, that's a property of water-based markers, that they will soak through the paper. But if these are being called paper friendly, we were testing to see if that was one of the things that was resolved. She finishes off her comment saying, I get the impression from YouTube videos that a lot of people don't know how to get the best results out of water-based markers, and you would try to use them like alcohol markers, but hoping to avoid the bleed through on the other side. I guess that I have a very different perspective of using these, perhaps as I come from a perspective of a painter. So that's another thing as well, is that there is multiple ways of using things. I use my pens in adult colouring books. I am not an artist. And I do believe that these pens are probably, these Pupe, whatever you want to call them, pens, are fabulous on drawing paper, where the artist is drawing and layering and drawing and layering, wet or dry, it doesn't matter. They'll be able to layer up to 20 layers. But that's not me. As I said earlier, I saw these online and I thought, ooh, paper friendly, I'd like to investigate that, which is what I did. And to address the best way that these markers are to be used is on watercolour paper. This is 190 GSM watercolour paper. And what I'm going to show to you now, I have a water brush filled with water. There's water in there. And I'm going to show each of these 7 pens that we just showed being pulled out with water. So there's the first ones, Ohuhu ones. They're pretty much don't move with water. These are the second version. They move with water. They're a bit better. You can see that they're a bit better. This is the art markers. Putting them onto water-based paper. Just clean off my brush so we don't get any cheating. And they blend out really nicely. When I tested these blended out as the equivalent as Tombows, so they're very good. Clean the brush. These are the journal markers. Put those down. Blend out. They blend out really nice as well. These are the flamingo version. There wasn't a nice tealy blue in the flamingo ones. Just make sure I've got my brush clean. The flamingo ones, yeah, they don't pull out as much. They're similar to these ones, almost feel like permanent when they go down. And then we're on to the last two, the paper friendly two, the ones that should be paper friendly, and the ones that Kelly says would work best on watercolour paper and being used with water and a brush. Well, I'm using water and a brush and they don't really blend out, so I don't think they're in their element on watercolour paper. Let's try this one. Yeah, to be honest, these two are the same as these two. The two that work best being pulled out with water on watercolour paper are the art markers and the journal pens. So to say that water-based markers must be used, need to be used on watercolour paper and blended out with a water brush, not the case with these. In fact, these are worse than these two. The other thing I was going to say as well is both Leonie and someone else, and I can't remember, apologies, talked about using it on a plastic palette and blending it out. Now, any water-based markers you could do that with. I mean, if I turn this over, this isn't even a plastic palette. This is a plastic tub. Scribble that on there. Grab that on there and paint it down. You can do that with any water-based markers, Crayolas, 99p ones from the 99p store. You don't have to go out and spend £30, £50 on expensive water-based markers for this to work. And I never, use my water-based markers like that, because if I did want to do that, I would use paint. And if I did want to do that, I wouldn't buy expensive markers with a fancy brush tip. Why do they put a fancy brush tip in if you're not supposed to use it? So you can do that, yes, but you can do that with all water-based markers, and it is not the way that you're supposed to use alcohol markers. Otherwise they wouldn't bother putting tips, fancy dual-ended tips on water-based markers. So I think that's pretty much it. Next time I see you, we'll be looking at the 10 layers, the 10 layer test. I'm just about to go and do layer 6 now, so I'll see you on the other side.
2 hours later.
I am just finishing off the 10th layer, so I'm going to do it with you. Yes, let us do it. So pen number 1, here we go. Layer 10. Layer 10, layer 10. Pen number 2, layer 10, layer 10, layer 10. Pen number 3, the art marker. Layer 10, ooh, breaking up. Layer 10 and layer 10. Boop, boop, boop. Pen number 4, the journal pen. Layer 10. Layer 10. Look at how much blue I've got on me. I'm like a Smurf. Can you see that? And layer 10. Flamingo pen. Layer 10. Layer 10 and layer 10. First paper friendly pen. Layer 10, layer 10 and layer 10. And finally the poop markers. I will need to go and wash my hands. I shall go and wash my hands after I've done layer 10 of the poop, layer 10 of the poop, and layer 10 of the poop. Right, I am going to wash my hands, and then we will come back and we will look how these worked on all these different types of paper. Okay, so here we go. My hands are clean, or as clean as they will get. I've still got some blue there. And I said I wasn't going to do a scientific test, but here you go. Here's the scientific test. Here's me using all of the different types of Ohuhu markers that are now displayed on the screen on different types of paper. Even though I will never use them on these type of paper, here we go. So this is on Winsor & Newton 200 GSM drawing paper. So the top layer is the very old Ohuhu branded ones, and the last layer is the paper friendly. And I'm going to turn it over. First of all, with regard to tearing up of the paper, this one started to feel like the paper was rough here, 8 or 9. Same with this. Okay, 3, which was the art marker. Yeah, it's about the same. 4, which is the journal marker. The journal marker only feels like it's breaking up the paper here. 5, which is the flamingo. Flamingo feels smooth until here. So this is the paper friendly one. The paper friendly one starts to feel rough about here, and the newer paper friendly one, the poop ones, again around 8 or 9. And with regard to bleed through, now there is none across the board. What you can see along the top here is the alcohol marker I used to do the, you know, labels. And also you can see a bit of blue here, but this blue here is where I was layering on top of each other of wet. There is no bleed through across the board on any of the pens. So the scientific experiment so far has shown that the poop pens on 220 GSM drawing paper, when layered dry, are no different than these cheap, the original set. Let's have a look on mixed media paper. Same thing. I will say that on the mixed media paper, oh no, it's on the watercolour paper that was worse. Let me just, yeah, mixed media paper was all right actually. So same sort of thing. They start to break up around here, same. Right, pen 4 is all the way through. Which was pen 4? I've forgotten already now. The journal marker, wasn't it? Yes, pen 4, 10. Flamingo, again 10. This is on 220 GSM mixed media paper. Right, the original paper friendly, they don't really feel like they've broken up the paper at all. Same with the new paper friendly. Look, I'm still getting blue ink on because this is saturation point. With regard to bleed through, again, absolutely nothing. In fact, my alcohol marker on this pen doesn't even come through. So scientifically, no point in doing the test on this paper because the Pupe pens did not perform any better than any of the previous Ohuhu water-based markers. And finally, on watercolour paper, the paper for using at water-based markers for. Now, I will say that this was the worst paper to use. The pens dragged on these. You could feel them dragging. It wasn't the best. Didn't feel like the best paper for them. The best paper felt like the drawing paper. So starts to feel like it's breaking up on 7 and 8. Same there. Same there. I mean, look, if I rub that, you can see the paper is lost its integrity. Journal ones, no, is that the journal ones? Yeah, the journal one is only here where it starts to feel like it's breaking down. Flamingo, same. First paper friendly iteration, same. Second paper friendly iteration, the same. So again, now this is interesting. No, that's not bleed through. It does look like bleed through, but it's not. It's where a wet piece of paper stuck on it. But the paper friendly markers, both paper friendly markers on this watercolour paper, they've got that little bit of warping. You're not going to be able to see it. Maybe like that you will. There's a little bit of warping with the two paper friendly markers. So the paper friendly markers really do not like watercolour paper, which is interesting and probably very contradictory to what Kelly said in the comments about water-based markers, you know, loving watercolour paper better or being best for using water-based markers. And I'm guessing that's because they've tried to formulate these paper-friendly ones with something. Anyway, that's it. That's all I'm going to do with regard to these paper-friendly markers. You know, I do these tests for me. I am a colour bookist, whatever. I like colouring in colour books, and sometimes I want to use a marker in a double-sided colouring book, just maybe to put a base layer down. In fact, I did a poll. Let me see what the results of the poll was to see what most people use water-based markers for. When I say most people, out of my subscribers, I polled my subscribers, so not out of the entire universe. Let me just bring up YouTube and we shall look at the result. Here we go. So 2 days ago I asked, how do you use watercolour markers, and 49% of people said in colouring books. 35% of people said as a base. You can only vote on one as well, so this is not like they've not chosen. No, the 35% and the 49% are not the same people. 35% said they use it as a base layer for pencils. 11% said they use it with a brush and water, so like we showed on the back of the plastic palette thing. And 5% said other, and most of the other comments was all of the above. So, you know, 5% of people do all three of those. 11% of people like use it as paint, and this is out of 119 votes. So yeah, 49% of people in my 49% of my subscribers are the same as me. They're going to use them in colouring books, and they, you know, the reason why I wanted to do this review, and I was going to buy these pens and do this review, and that's why it's so honest, because I wanted to use them in adult colouring books, and I wanted to lay them down, maybe put some pencil over them to finish them up, and I just didn't want them to go through the paper. And in my honest opinion, I prefer this set this set, wherever it is. Hold on, let me grab it. Ugh. Try not to have an avalanche. There's so many open packets of pens here. This set of Ohuhu markers, this cheaper than cheap set of water-based markers, because the paper-friendly poop ones didn't perform any better. Wow, the paper-friendly poop ones didn't perform any better. That's nice and wet and spitty for you, isn't it? That lady who comments that I'm a wet talker. Great. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Thanks for all your conversation on it. I think what these are great for, and you know, what these are great for is this. Beautiful Winsor & Newton drawing paper. Lovely and smooth. This is the nearest type of paper you'll get to a Joanna Basford colouring book. Let's get my poop. No, that's the jewel. Here's the poop. Let's get my boot, and I'm going to draw a picture. Now, I'm no artist, so wish me luck. What should I draw a picture of? I'm going to draw a picture of a man. Actually, let's do it as a dog, right? And he's going to have eyes and ears, right? And a tongue. Right, and if I drawing away and I'm layering up, and it's not going to go through the paper, and it's not going to, you know, this is what they're good for. For drawing, I can't draw, remember, I'm no artist. And you can layer and layer. He's got long hair now, and layer and layer. I think, you know, we're not going to, the paper's not going to break down. That's what I think that they're good for. But that said, I don't think much changes when I use these. In fact, these feel nice. They don't feel too draggy. La la la. My art knows no bounds, does it? So there we go. You know, this is not going to go through the paper either. We can layer, and we can layer, and we can layer. So, as quite a few people got and said in the comments, I don't feel there's much difference. But hey, at the end of the day, Ohuhu are trying. They're trying to pioneer and bring things forward and do things a bit differently. And I thank them very much for sending me these pens. I was going to buy them anyway. I have bought all the others, as you have seen. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for your comments, and take care.